The lights were soft in the small backstage room, the kind that made everything feel slower, like the world was moving in halftime. Keanu Reeves sat alone at the end of the long table, his suit slightly wrinkled from the ride-in, his hands resting quietly on his knees. The chair beside him was untouched. Not a fold in the cushion, not a trace of perfume. It stayed perfectly empty. He hadn't let anyone sit there. It was supposed to be a private screening. A small, heartfelt gathering. The kind of event where stories mattered more than spotlights. It wasn't a major premiere, not even a press event. It was something quieter, an indie film they both supported, a project born out of someone's pain, stitched together by hope. And weeks ago, Ana de Armas had promised she would be there. She had smiled when she said it. And he had believed her. Keanu checked his watch again. The hands moved, but the seconds felt stuck. Around him, voices buzzed, soft laughter passed through the room, but none of it reached him. He kept glancing at the door, hoping the knob would turn. Hoping he would see that nervous little look Ana always had before walking into unfamiliar rooms. She'd once told him that her confidence wasn't real, not in quiet moments. She had built it like armor. And tonight, for some reason, he worried that armor had cracked. They hadn't spoken in 3 weeks. Nothing harsh, nothing cold. Just silence. Sometimes, silence was the heaviest kind of noise. He'd sent her one message last night. Just 7 words, "I'll save you a seat." "If you come," she hadn't replied. But he still left the seat beside him open. He remembered the last time they had talked. It wasn't dramatic, just a walk after a long rehearsal. She had been distracted that day. Her eyes kept drifting off into the sky, like she was chasing something invisible. When he asked what was wrong, she smiled and said she was fine. But he knew better. He always did. Ana was never just fine. She was either dancing through life or quietly drowning. That day, he didn't press. And now, he wished he had. The host approached him now, whispering that they needed to start. The room had filled. Everyone had taken their seats. Except the one beside him. They asked if they should remove the chair. "No," Keanu said softly, "she still might come." They nodded and stepped away. The lights dimmed. The screen flickered to life. Keanu leaned back slightly, his face calm but his eyes scanning the door one last time. Still nothing. The film began. The opening scene was a hospital corridor, quiet and gray. The lead character, played by a young actress new to Hollywood, reminded him of Ana. The same fragility wrapped in fire. As the scene unfolded, he couldn't help but glance at the seat again. A cup of tea sat on the table behind him. He'd brought 2. Hers was getting cold. And then, 30 minutes in, something strange happened. His phone buzzed. Not loud, just a gentle hum in his pocket. He hesitated. Everyone else was focused on the screen. He pulled the phone out. A message. One line. "I tried. I really did. I'm sorry." No name. But he didn't need one. He stared at the message for a long time, feeling something sink in his chest. And yet, there was no anger. Just a deep, aching worry. What had stopped her? Had she broken down? Had something happened? He thought about leaving the room. Thought about calling her. But then he looked back at the chair. He decided to wait. Not because he believed she would come now. But because that empty chair meant something. It meant someone was still waiting for her. And sometimes, that was enough to pull someone back. He didn't know where she was. He didn't know if she was safe. But he knew one thing for certain, he wasn't going anywhere. Not until he knew she was okay. And that seat would stay open until then. Keanu didn't leave the theater when the credits rolled. The lights came up, people stood, stretched, whispered kind words to each other. A few came up to thank him, to shake his hand, to tell him the film moved them. He nodded gently, gave them small smiles, but his eyes always flickered toward the door. The seat beside him stayed empty through it all. When the crowd thinned out and the noise softened to quiet footsteps and closing doors, Keanu finally stood. He walked toward the back of the room, picked up the second cup of tea, now cold, and held it in both hands like it still mattered. He didn't throw it away. Instead, he carried it with him as he stepped into the hallway, eyes lowered in thought. He had nowhere to be that night. He had made sure of it. Just in case she came late. Just in case she needed him. He walked outside into the cool air and leaned against the wall under the low yellow lights. The night smelled like dust and memory. The kind of night where anything unsaid hung heavy in the air. That's when he heard the voice. Soft. Almost nothing. Keanu. He turned. At first he didn't see anyone. Then the shape emerged from the shadow near the side entrance. Anna. Wearing a simple coat, her hair tucked up messily, no makeup, no shine. Her eyes looked tired. Her voice, even quieter than he remembered. He didn't speak. He just waited. She walked closer but didn't come all the way. I came late, she whispered. I sat outside. He still said nothing. Not out of anger, but because he knew the weight she was carrying. She looked like someone who had rehearsed 1,000 words, then forgotten every single one. She looked down. I didn't know if I could face you, she said. Not after disappearing like that. Keanu held the cold cup of tea toward her. It's yours, he said gently. She stared at it. Then took it in both hands, like it was warm again. Like it meant something. Why did you wait? She asked. His voice was calm. Because I promised to save you a seat. And I don't break promises. She blinked fast, like holding back tears. Even when I don't show up. Especially then. For a long moment, neither of them said a word. Traffic hummed in the distance. A bird called once and then went quiet again. I had a panic attack. Anna finally said. In the car. 2 blocks away. I just couldn't get out. I sat there until the lights in the theater went dark. I almost drove away. But then I didn't. I just sat there. Keanu nodded slowly, listening, not judging. I didn't want to ruin it, she said. You were so excited about this film. And I felt so small. Like I'd forgotten how to be seen. I thought if I came in, everyone would look. And I'd fall apart in front of them. He stepped a little closer, careful, quiet. You're not small, he said. You're someone worth waiting for. Her lips trembled. She looked down at the cup, still in her hands. You always say the right thing, she whispered. Not always, he replied. But I try to say the true thing. She let out a soft, shaky breath. Like something in her chest had finally unclenched. You know what hurt the most? She asked. What? I felt like I'd let you down more than anyone. Not just because of tonight. But because you've always been the one person who never gave up on me. And I didn't know how to tell you I was falling again. Keanu took another step closer. Now just a few inches between them. You don't have to tell me when you fall, he said softly. Just let me be there when you do. Anna looked up at him then. Not with a smile, not yet. But with something close. Something breaking through the clouds. I missed you, she said. He nodded. I missed you too. They stood there for a while. No performance. No camera flash. No crowd. Just a man and a woman under soft yellow light, holding a cold cup of tea like it was still warm. Can we walk? She asked. He offered his arm. And they walked. Not to anywhere special. Just forward. They walked for blocks in silence, but it wasn't the kind of silence that pushes people apart. It was the kind that breathes. It was soft and honest, the kind of quiet that only comes when both people understand pain without needing every detail. Anna held the empty teacup close to her chest like it still had meaning. Keanu didn't ask questions. He just matched her pace, one step at a time. They passed the glow of late-night shops. Windows filled with forgotten decorations and flickering signs. A man whistled on the other side of the street. A woman laughed into her phone. Life continued around them, but in their small orbit, it felt like time slowed down. Anna stopped in front of a closed bookstore with a wooden bench outside. Can we sit? She asked. Keanu nodded. They sat down side by side, and Anna slowly leaned back against the window behind her. She closed her eyes for a moment. Like just sitting next to him allowed her lungs to work again. "Do you ever feel like you're disappearing?" she asked softly, eyes still closed. Keanu turned to look at her, not startled by the question. "Sometimes," he said. "I don't mean just from the world," she whispered. "I mean from yourself. Like the version of you that people see keeps getting stronger and shinier, but the real you is getting smaller and quieter. Like you're slowly vanishing inside your own skin." He nodded gently. "I know exactly what that feels like." Anna finally opened her eyes. "I knew you would." She turned the empty cup in her hands. "When I sat in that car tonight, I wasn't just scared of being seen," she said. "I was scared I wouldn't recognize myself anymore. I've done so many interviews lately, so many events, I can hear myself talking but it doesn't sound like me anymore. It's like I've built this polished version of Anna. She smiles perfectly. She walks like she's not afraid. But she's not real." Keanu was quiet, letting her keep going. "And the real me," she said, "the one that messes up lines, the one who gets nervous ordering coffee, the one who still cries at music videos, I don't know where she went." Keanu leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Maybe," he said slowly, "she just needs someone to remind her that she's allowed to come back." Anna looked over at him, her eyes filled with something deep, something between sorrow and hope. "You really think so?" He didn't hesitate. "I do." She let out a breath that almost turned into a laugh. "You always make it sound so simple." "Not simple," he said. "Just possible." They sat for a while longer, watching a few cars pass under the orange streetlights. A gentle wind moved through, rustling the pages of a forgotten newspaper on the sidewalk. Keanu noticed her hands trembling slightly. Without a word, he took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. She didn't resist. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "I'm just glad you're here." She looked at him with tired eyes, but for the first time in days, there was a flicker of warmth in them. "You know," she said, I thought you'd be disappointed in me." "Why would I be?" "Because I disappeared. Because I shut down. Because I left you with an empty seat and no explanation." Keanu shook his head. "You didn't leave me," he said. "You just needed time. And I knew you'd find your way back." Anna blinked. Then smiled, just a little. "You really believe in people, don't you?" "I believe in you." She closed her eyes again, just for a second. "I wish I believed in myself the way you do." Keanu looked ahead, watching the headlights of a car move slowly down the street. "Maybe that's how it starts," he said. "Maybe someone else believing in you is the first step to remembering how to believe in yourself." Anna didn't reply right away. Then she reached out and gently took his hand. Not out of romance. Not out of obligation. Just because sometimes, holding someone's hand makes the ground feel solid again. They sat there, two people against the world, with nothing to prove, nothing to hide. Just presence. Just safety. And in the middle of the night, on that quiet little bench outside a closed bookstore, Anna finally whispered something that felt like a beginning. "I'm tired of pretending," she said. Keanu squeezed her hand softly. "Then don't. Just be here. Just be you." The city stayed quiet as the night deepened, as if it understood something delicate was happening on that bench. Keanu and Anna sat without rushing, without planning the next moment. They weren't actors now, not performers. Just two people breathing in the same silence, each carrying invisible weight. After a long while, Anna lifted her head from his shoulder. "Do you ever wish you could disappear for real?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu looked at her carefully. "You mean, run away from it all?" She nodded. "Not because I hate my life," she said. "Not because I don't love acting. But because sometimes it feels like too much. Like, I'm always being watched. Even when no one's around. I can't even cry in peace anymore. I keep wondering what version of me people expect, and I'm scared I'll forget who I am when no one's looking." Keanu thought for a long second, then nodded slowly. "I felt that," he said. Fame can feel like living in a house made of glass. No doors. No curtains. And when it rains, everyone still expects you to smile like you're dry. Anna's lips curved into a faint, sad smile. Exactly that. A breeze moved through the street, brushing her hair softly across her face. She pushed it back with a shaky hand. I never told anyone this, she said, but last month, during that big awards dinner, I had to step into the bathroom just to breathe. The cameras, the voices, the laughter, it felt like drowning in glitter. No one noticed I was gone. I sat on the cold floor for 10 minutes with my head in my hands. Keanu didn't look away. He didn't flinch. Anna's voice dropped even lower. I wanted to scream, but all I could do was smile again when I walked out. She paused. And I hated myself for it. Keanu leaned back against the bench, his eyes on the quiet road. You were surviving, he said. Sometimes smiling is the only thing left between you and collapse. Anna looked at him. But doesn't that make me fake? No, he said softly. It makes you human. She let that sink in. Slowly. Painfully. Beautifully. A car passed, headlights washing them in gold for a few seconds before darkness returned. Anna hugged the jacket tighter around herself. You know what scares me the most? What? That one day, I'll get so good at pretending, I won't even notice I'm doing it. Keanu turned his body slightly, facing her fully. Then promise me something, he said gently. She looked up. What? When that day comes, if it ever does, call me. No matter where I am. No matter what time. And just say one word. What word? Remember. Anna blinked. And I'll remind you who you are, Keanu said. I'll tell you about the time you danced barefoot in the rain outside that studio. Or when you gave your food to that homeless man in Lisbon and stayed to talk to him. I'll tell you how your real laugh sounds nothing like your red carpet one. I'll remind you that the real you is enough. More than enough. Anna covered her mouth with her hand, like the truth of those words hit too suddenly, too deeply. Why do you do that? She whispered. Why do you always see the parts of me that I keep hidden? He gave her a sad, warm smile. Because I don't see the mask. I see the person. Anna didn't speak. She just looked at him, her eyes shining with tears she didn't hide this time. Thank you, she said. Not for tonight. Not just for waiting. But for knowing I needed someone before I even knew it myself. Keanu leaned back against the bench and let out a slow breath. You don't have to say thank you. Just promise me you'll stay. Stay. Stay in the fight. Stay with yourself. Stay awake, even when the noise gets loud. She nodded slowly. Then she did something small, but powerful. She placed the cold cup of tea, still in her hands, gently on the bench between them. It's cold now, she said. But next time, I'll bring the tea. Keanu smiled. Not a big smile. Just the kind that tells you something real passed between two people. Anna stood, then paused. Do you want to walk a little more? Keanu rose beside her. Only if you lead this time. And so she did. With no plan. No performance. Just forward, again. The streetlights began to fade behind them as they walked deeper into the quieter part of the city. Stores were closed. Windows dark. Even the air felt different here, cooler, calmer, like the city itself had exhaled. Anna's steps were slower now, more grounded. She didn't look over her shoulder anymore to see if Keanu was still there. She knew he was. They reached an old pedestrian bridge that arched over a dry canal. Graffiti covered the walls. Rust hugged the rails. It was the kind of place people passed without noticing. But Anna stopped at the center and leaned over the edge, her fingers wrapped around the metal. I used to come here, she said. Keanu stepped beside her, curious. When? He asked. Before everything. Before the movies, the headlines, the expectations. I lived just 2 blocks from here when I first moved to the city. I'd walk here when I felt lost. Which was, almost every week. Keanu looked down at the empty canal below. Weeds and shadows filled the space where water used to run. Funny, she said, how even dry places still remember how to carry something. He turned to her. What do you mean? I mean this canal, she said, pointing. It's dry now. Abandoned. But you can still see the path where water once flowed. The shape of it. The echo of what used to be. She turned toward him slowly. Sometimes I feel like this place, she said. Like the water's gone, but the path is still there. And maybe if I'm lucky, the flow will come back someday. Keanu didn't speak. He just reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small. A folded piece of paper. He handed it to her. Anna raised an eyebrow but took it. What's this? Something you left behind, he said. She opened it slowly. Her breath caught. It was a note. Her handwriting. Torn from the edge of a script. It read. If I ever disappear, find me where the quiet things live. She stared at the words. You kept this, she asked, barely above a whisper. You dropped it in the rehearsal room last year, he said. I picked it up. Didn't know why I kept it, until tonight. Anna held the note like it was made of glass. I remember writing this, she said. I was falling apart that day. No one noticed. I wrote it so someone, anyone, might understand what I couldn't say out loud. I noticed, he said softly. Her eyes filled again, not with sadness, but with something else. Recognition. Thank you for finding me, she said. Keanu leaned on the railing beside her. You weren't lost, he said. Just waiting to be seen. Anna tucked the note back into her coat pocket. Then she reached into her own bag and pulled out something unexpected, a thin silver chain with a small charm. She hesitated, then held it out to him. This was from my mother, she said. I wear it when I feel like I'm fading. But tonight, I think you need it more. Keanu didn't move. Why me? Because, she said, you carry everyone else's pain so gently, I think sometimes you forget you have your own. He looked at the chain for a long moment. Then took it carefully, like it was sacred. I'll give it back, he promised. No rush, she said. Just hold it until you forget to feel alone. For the first time that night, Anna smiled like herself. Not the public smile. Not the practiced one. But the one she used to have before the world got loud. Let's do something wild, she said suddenly. Keanu tilted his head. Like what? Let's promise, she said, that no matter how far we drift, no matter how lost we feel, we'll always save each other a seat. Even if it stays empty. Even if years pass. That seat means someone still believes. He nodded. Deal. She extended her pinky. He hooked his around hers. Two grown actors under a broken bridge, making a pinky promise like children. And it meant more than anything spoken on stage. They stood like that a moment longer, under flickering light and forgotten walls, holding onto a small thread of truth they'd finally found in each other. Not perfection. Not rescue. Just quiet, steady belief. The morning crept in softly, painting the horizon with pale light as Anna and Keanu walked the quiet streets. There was no script left, no camera waiting, just footsteps and breath. The night had unraveled so much, shame, silence, memory, fear, but somehow, in all of it, they found something else too. Presence. And something close to peace. They reached an all-night diner on the corner, one of those places that hadn't changed in 30 years. Chipped paint, flickering neon, and the smell of burnt coffee hanging in the air. It was almost empty. Perfect. Keanu held the door, and Anna stepped in with that same quiet grace she used when the world was too loud. They sat in a corner booth. The same side. No menus needed. Just 2 cups of black coffee, steaming quietly between them. You ever notice, Anna said, staring into her cup, how some of the most important moments in your life happen when you look the worst? Keanu smiled faintly. Because that's when we're real. She looked at him. I think that's what saved me tonight. He didn't respond with words. Just gave a small nod, a steady one. She didn't need more than that. The waitress came and went. And then they sat, watching as sunlight slowly climbed through the window blinds. "So," Keanu said after a long silence, "what happens now?" Anna thought for a moment. "I don't know," she said. "But for the first time in a while, I'm okay with not knowing." He turned to her, and there was something gentle in his eyes. "You don't have to figure everything out today." She smiled. "Good. Because I'm still trying to remember who I was before everyone else told me who I'm supposed to be." Keanu reached into his pocket and placed something on the table. It was her note again, the one she had written months ago. "If I ever disappear, find me where the quiet things live." Anna looked at it. Then at him. "Why'd you bring it again?" "Because," he said, "you haven't finished the sentence." She raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Keanu slid a napkin toward her and offered his pen. Anna stared at the blank space below her own words. She hesitated. Then slowly began to write. "And if I'm quiet too long, speak gently until I answer." When she finished, her hands trembled just slightly. She placed the napkin between them. "There," she said. "Now it's done." Keanu looked at the words for a long time. He folded the napkin, placed it back in his coat pocket with care. And then, like he'd waited all night for this moment, he said something he hadn't dared before. "I think you're stronger than you believe." Anna looked at him. And this time, she didn't look away. "I'm starting to believe it too." They paid for the coffee. Stepped outside. The city was waking up. Cars moved slowly. People walked past with sleepy eyes and bags in their hands. It was a normal day. And yet, something had changed. "I'm going to rest today," Anna said. "Really rest? Not perform rest?" "You deserve that," Keanu said. "You coming to the studio next week?" He paused. "Only if you're there." She smiled softly. "Then I guess I better show up." They stood there on the sidewalk, in no rush to say goodbye. "Hey," Anna said suddenly. "You remember that seat you saved for me?" "Yeah." "Keep saving it." He looked at her, puzzled. "Why?" She shrugged. "Because there might be days I forget again. Days I slip back into silence. But just knowing someone is saving a space for me, it might be enough to help me come back." Keanu nodded slowly. "It's yours. Always." She leaned in, not a dramatic kiss, not even a long hug. Just a soft touch on his arm. "See you soon, Keanu." He watched her walk away. Not rushed. Not hiding. Not pretending. Just walking forward. And when she turned the corner, gone from view, Keanu smiled to himself. Then reached into his coat pocket, pulled out the folded napkin, and read the line again. "Speak gently until I answer." He folded it and tucked it back inside. Then turned and walked the other way. Not sad. Not waiting. Just trusting that someday, without warning, she'd show up again. And when she did, the seat beside him would still be there. Waiting.